Welcome to I'll Be the Judge.
Where opinions are bold, the vendor tea is hot, and the bridesmaids' dresses are questionable.
I'm Chelsey.
And I'm Cacie.
We are both wedding photographers who have seen it all.
From first looks to last call meltdowns,
Each week we're pulling back the veil
and calling out the trends, traditions, and totally chaotic moments in the wedding world.
Nothing's off limits. If it happens between yes and I do, we are judging it.
So grab a bevy,
Fluff your train, and let's get into it. Okay. Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm so happy to be here. I can't believe this is our very first episode.
It's been a long time coming. Just a lot of talk, and now we're finally jumping in. It's really exciting. It's interesting. I've never done anything like this before, but I've spoken about it before. So I'm really, really excited. And I feel like we're two really good people for this specific type of thing. So I'm excited to see where it's going to take us. And I'm excited to see if everybody else is as encouraging post-production as they have been pre-production.
Hopefully we don't have too hot of takes. But we actually, Cacie and I recorded our first podcast last week, but we decided that we're going to actually hold that episode for a little bit. And then we wanted to come on, just the two of us, to kind of get to know you guys get to know us, and then kind of go from there with guests. But we are so stoked that we're doing this. So thank you for taking time and joining us.
It's worth your time.
Yes, I think it will be. It's someone said entertaining and educating. I'm like, great. That's exactly what
we're trying to do. Trying to make sure that the world keeps spinning. And listen, although these are our hot takes, and if there's anything that happens to come up and you don't agree with it, that's okay. That's what makes the world go around. We're here to love one another, even though we might not agree on everything. We're just two little old me's in this world. And we wanted to share and hopefully bring a little bit of education and positivity to what some people might find a little bit more negative or just have a different connotation to it. I think that's what we're most excited about, is just bringing a spin of positivity on things and letting everybody know that it's not that serious. There's bigger things happening in this world. We just want to bring a little bit of light, share a little bit of our light with the rest of the world.
I love that so much, Case. And I do describe us as very light people. We like positivity and happiness. And obviously, not everything is rainbows and butterflies all the time. But I do want to shed some light on the good things. But I want to say, so we asked in our DMs yesterday what hot takes you guys have in the wedding industry, both couples and vendors. And I actually did have a couple past couples respond, which is kind of fun to hear. But someone said, my hot take is that I'm sick of hot takes, and I'm sick of people telling other people what to do. And I was like, no, I actually completely agree. I think that Cacie and I just want to start out with a little bit of a disclaimer that we are not here to shame anyone's choices, to talk about what you should or should not do. Our hot takes are really not going to be surrounding trends or opinions on certain trends necessarily, because everyone has a different preference in life. And we're not here to shame anybody's choices. So we are trying to focus on the greater whole of the industry and the positivity that we can bring to that. So, Cacie, should we dive in and start reading some of the spicy little hot takes that we have?
So there were a ton of really good ones. So I'm excited to go through them. Rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Yeah. So this is going to be like speed dating with hot takes, and I'm so here for it. Honestly, Cacie and I both have ADHD, so we get distracted anyways. We need multiple things to talk about.
I am on the pills today, so I'm ready.
I didn't, and I'm like, my brain's like, squirrel. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay.
It's okay. We still love you for it. Half of you showed up. You're here, and that's all that matters.
I'm here. I made it. Okay, so our first category is wedding planner slander, which, let me say, I am not here to slander any planner. These are submitted hot takes. These are not our hot takes. So the first one, Cacie, I'm so curious your opinion. Someone said new planners should not jump into tented weddings without proper experience and education.
Listen, here's my opinion. Here's my hot take. I think the words jumping in and new to the experience should not be, you know, you shouldn't be jumping into anything if you're brand new. Obviously, if you're just starting your career, you gotta start somewhere, toes in first. I'm supportive of all of that. When you experience weddings all across the board, whether it's tented, ballroom, the scales are so different. Like so different. It is a different bracket. It requires different things. I think if you haven't had experience in the wedding industry or event planning or things like that, jumping into a big tented wedding might not be the best idea, unless you, like I said, if you've been like in a family business, if you've been shadowing for a long time, maybe you can shoot your shot. However, they're a big deal. All weddings are a big deal.
Yeah. And that's what makes experience so valuable. I don't have a huge hot take on this, mainly because I'm not a wedding planner and I don't deal with that side of things. This was submitted by a venue coordinator or a venue manager. And so I think she sees a lot of the nitty gritty that maybe you and I don't see. And I just
Totally.
want to, I don't have a ton to add, but I completely agree with Cacie that jumping into anything without a ton of experience and knowledge can pose some challenges.
You need some
However,
research under your belt.
we all start somewhere. So
Right,
I will
exactly.
give you that. Okay. This one's interesting because I didn't even know this was a thing. But someone said stop letting coordinators plan photography timelines. Planners should handle it. I have not had a coordinator try to make my timeline ever. Have you experienced that?
Not that I can think of. Usually, as far as timelines go, earlier on in my career, and will still do this sometimes, if a planner hasn't gotten back right away, and I have a severely type A bride, which I do have often, that's totally okay. Is I will do my timeline strictly for photography first. I'm not telling your florist when she needs to be there. I don't know when your hair and makeup needs to start, things like that. So I'll do the photography side of things when I'm battling the sun, indoors, outdoors, travel, things like that, and then send it to the planner or I guess your coordinator, and then they can build the master timeline around that. But mine is strictly for me. If you are a coordinator planning my photography, that's going to be a big fat no from me, dog. Um,
I'm
that's
actually
spooky because
completely, I'm with
not
you on that.
not only do you not know photographers, much like any other vendor, we all function very, very differently. Chelsey shoots and functions. I don't know how long it could take her 45 minutes to photograph details or something, just to make an example, or it could only take me 15. Based off of that, you cannot be comparing me to Chelsey when you're making the general photography timeline, because it could take us two different amounts of time to be doing that. So please don't touch my timeline.
Correct. And if you're a planner, like absolutely, let's talk about it. But if you're a venue coordinator, in my opinion, I actually agree with this hot take that that should not be your job. I want to add a piggyback on this one because this was another submitted hot take that was similar. And I actually disagree with it. It is so someone said, I don't want the master timeline with every bit of information on it from the planner. I want you to make me a vendor specific one. And I could not agree less. First of all, that's sorry, hot take. It is your responsibility to make your own timeline based on what the planner provides you. You are not their client. They're not here to serve you or please you. They are here to create a great experience, in my opinion, working with planners. But to me, I want to know everything that's going on. I want to know the transportation schedule. I want to know the key players in the game. I want to know every vendor that's on board. I need to know when the water glasses are getting filled in the tent space, so I know when to photograph before that happens. So I want that information. I would never in a million years expect a planner to create my separate timeline. They are managing. I think we had Cacie and I had a planner friend last week said she was managing 40 different vendors for a weekend. That is such a tall order. Like they don't have time to make 40 different timelines. That's crazy energy.
That's actual insanity. Many more many more medication is necessary for that. I agree with you on disagreeing with that. I think it's necessary, especially during a wedding day when all the gears are turning and everybody's doing their own part. Instead of having to go ask the planner or ask the coordinator, whoever it may be that you're working with, hey, what time is this happening? You can pull it up on your phone. You can print it out, have it specific. If something's a little bit off timeline wise, then you might be able to raise questions. But I just feel like everybody being on the same page, literally and figuratively speaking, I think is the key component to making sure your wedding is as seamless as possible.
Yeah. Yep, 100%. We need to know the information. And I feel like I kind of just want to give a PSA. There was a lot of wedding planner slander in this. I had no idea that there was a lot of photo video teams that were, there's a lot of contention between media team and planning. And I view it as a partnership because it makes my job easier. I
I
didn't
agree.
realize that the greater whole of the industry maybe didn't share the same viewpoint as me. And it was a little
Which
eye opening.
it's interesting, and it always takes me back to thinking like, ooh, I would love to hear the story behind that and why you feel that way. Everything comes back to trauma. Don't lie to yourself. We all got our own type of trauma. There's wedding trauma, there's personal trauma. And
Yeah.
I'm always curious. I'm
Yeah.
like, how did you get to that conclusion? How did you see? And then, you sort of hear the stories. You're like, I could see how that might, change your opinion in that way. I just think it's so interesting. Everybody's different paths of life they've been down, especially in the wedding industry, because the stories we could tell. You know what I mean?
That we will tell.
And we will, which is why
We
we're
will.
here, because it's just, I think that in every aspect of life, it just makes so much more sense to talk to people and hear each other's stories and hear each other out and provide experiences for each other so that we can better each experience every time we do work together, so that you're not confused about the timeline and hair and makeup isn't running super late and things like that.
Oh, 100%. And there was one hot take that someone said hair and makeup is absolutely crucial to run on time or it will derail the timeline. And I could not agree more.
Couldn't agree more.
However, I feel like a lot of times this gets pinned on hair and makeup teams when 9 times out of 10, it's because a bridesmaid or someone in the wedding party did not show up to their appointment on time. And I want to urge couples, if you are concerned that your wedding party will not make it on time, you need to invest in hiring another artist from your hair and makeup artist team so that you can start later and that you have more hands on deck. That is the only way. If you feel like your people can't get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, it is so crucial that hair and makeup starts on time. It's a domino. It affects every part of the day.
It could not honestly be more freaking true. Uh, that's the start of the day. That is the start of the day. It's not how anybody wants to start their day, being behind on schedule. And I always tell couples and plan, wedding timelines move like this, right? You could be a little bit behind at one point and then you're caught up again, and then behind a little bit, or way caught up and then wait. It works like that. So there's obviously grace within a period. However, it is so tough when you start out your day like that, because you don't want to start out with your stress being high. Know your friends and family. I feel the same way sort of about family photos. And people ask me, what time should what time should these be at? What time should I tell them to be there? I don't know your family. Are they timely people? How many family members do you have? Can grandma and grandpa walk, or do they need assistance? Things like that severely impact a timeline. And you want to pick and choose your battles, guys. Pick and choose your battles. Know your friends and family. If you know that they're untimely, that's okay. A little white lie goes a long way. Okay. If you know that your friend it has a start time of 7 a.m., tell her she starts at 6:30. If you know that groomsman is going to sleep in, tell him 30 minutes to an hour earlier, just so that you can make sure that it's running smoothly for everybody and you're not taking on that additional stress. I promise you, it means so much to get your day started out on time.
Period.
Mic drop.
Okay, I have a funny one. This was submitted from a past bride of mine. Love her dearly. We photographed 2 of her weddings because she was a COVID bride. But she said, wedding morning sex is better than wedding evening sex. And honestly, this is a hot take I can get behind because the end of the night, you're tired. Your dress is probably hard to get off. And you might be a little drunk. I mean, or do it both
Time.
times. Yeah.
I think about this all the time. I am not married. I've never had a wedding, so I don't know what it's like. And there are so many times where I'm like, I wonder if they made it to the end of the night. Because oftentimes when I'm leaving, I can see either how many drinks they've had or what they're doing afterwards. And I'm always like, I wonder if they're going to do the deed tonight.
And I think what's funny, Cacie, is that traditions are changing. I feel like I want to know who created this bad luck concept
Guess, did
because,
you
like,
mean, do they mean like the night of or the morning after the wedding?
no, I think they mean the morning of. Like, instead of
Okay.
sleeping in separate rooms, they sleep together, wake up together, and then they go their separate ways, which actually I love because I feel like 9 times out of 10, the person you're marrying is your person. They're your safe place. You want to go to sleep next to them. It helps ease that anxiety. And then a little morning fun can get the day started on a good note.
You get a workout in. Listen, there's so many
Listen,
pluses that I can think of right now. You get a
there's
workout
so many a
in,
quick pump. Yeah.
quick quick pump, endorphins are being released. You are
Period.
sharing that
Exactly.
extra level of closeness and connection, and then you
Yeah.
peace out and you go get your hair and makeup done, and you go take a little morning shot or have a little mimosa. I mean, listen, I'm on
Exactly.
board.
That's
I'm
what
on
I
board
said.
for the morning.
I was like, this is the kind of hot take that I want in my life. But we are going to transition to something a little bit more serious. So, speaking of couples and educating them and just considering them on a wedding day, I feel like there's a conversation around couples really wanting a lot of creativity from their vendors, but micromanaging every decision. Now, I will say I'm very lucky. I don't see this very often with my couples, but I obviously do. I have experienced that in the past. What do you have any thoughts about the concept of wanting creativity, but wanting to then kind of micromanage?
Ugh, this could be a whole episode for me, honestly.
Okay.
I
Okay.
have many a thought for this one. I am also very lucky to where I feel like not so much anymore do my couple, when couples and planners are hiring me, there's the trust there. They might have a few inspo picks, which is always, I welcome that just for a vibe. But for the most part, when people come to me, they know what I produce and they know what I'm capable of. And they're like, yep, we want you to make it super unique. However, I do occasionally and have for sure, I think every photographer, at least at our level and with our experience, has had this at least once or twice in their life. It happens and it's almost unavoidable. However, trust when you are doing research, couples and planners, when you're doing research, make sure who you're do research, period. Do research. Look at their galleries, look at their Instagram, look at their
Oh,
website.
galleries.
Market research is so important, especially when you get down the line and you start realizing that your photographer that you booked, that you trusted so much, now doesn't align with what you overall are envisioning for your wedding day. That can be very difficult. You might find yourself, if this is you as a couple, regretting your decision and who you've hired when you're sending them things like massive Pinterest boards. You know, Pinterest is also another topic for another day. I love Pinterest, but I do have some hot takes on that. Sending other photographers work who either doesn't at all align with what you produce or are completely different edits, that can come off as a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe a little.
Uncomfortable because it's someone else's artistry.
It's someone else's artistry and we want to be trusted for what we produce. And yeah, there's a very thin line between sending inspo and also wanting to copy somebody else's date completely. If your photographer is constantly referring back to a shots list that you provide, because you have so many things that you want to get done, it's going to overall disrupt the timeline and the seamlessness of your wedding day. So again, these are like, Chelsey, that I could go into this for days and days just
I know
because
it.
It's not fair to a lot of people, but also I understand from a couple's perspective that you have a very specific vision, and I respect that. I just think market research, do your research, ask questions, ask your
Well,
planner. Yeah.
I think that when you see this the most is when you maybe want to hire one vendor, maybe for budget reasons, you don't. And then what I've seen sometimes is couples will try to force another vendor to be the vendor that they wish they could have hired. And that could be its own episode, like you said. I will say I don't mind a few inspiration photos. Those don't bother me. It kind of gives me an idea of what it is they're looking for, or I'll ask, are there some shots that are really important to them, or things that are really important to them that I maybe are not quite as obvious. Okay, next hot take. I'm just going to read this one really quickly because I'm not a wedding planner and I don't know much about this, but a couple of wedding planners said, stop dragging your grooms to every design meeting. Most don't care. I would imagine that's probably true. Maybe some do care, but I think their point was stop forcing them to come for the sake of making them wanting to be involved if they just don't care.
I don't have many opinions on this, but I could see how that would be frustrating and or maybe slightly, dare I say, a waste of time.
Yeah, but I
You
think
want
that that's kind of what she was getting at, was that it's just waste their maybe their PTO or their time where they could be spending those meetings doing other things.
Yeah, I think planners chime in. What's your take on this? Are you pro both? My other question is, just because I want to make sure everybody's feeling included here, is what is this like with two grooms? Is it a little bit different? Is it or two brides? Is it the same feeling? Because I don't sit in typically on those like initial design meetings. I usually am at the end with the design board finalizations. But yeah, I would love to hear some comments from some planners about what that dynamic is like across sort of the LGBTQ plus community as far as, hetero versus homo weddings. You know what I mean?
I do, because I think that stereotypically heterosexual relationships can fall into the category of the bride likes the design, the groom cares about stereotypically the food and music, right? Like that's
Yeah,
kind of what we hear from what the
totally.
grooms in a hetero relationship. But that's a great question. Yeah, I'm interested. I want planners to sound off because I actually am curious about this. Um, this is a good one, Case. First looks do not make the ceremony any less special.
Disagree.
No, are you serious?
I don't know.
So for me, it comes simply down to the fact that I would want to be with my person sooner, but then also the photos. You don't. I mean, it's just there is no way that we can. I was talking about this in a timeline meeting the other day, but there's no way that we can create more time. I do not physically have the capability to bend time and space. If I could, I would probably be very, 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 very rich, but we can't. So what happens is you all of those photos with your spouse, you cannot get until after the ceremony. Now, caveat to this. Early Catholic ceremonies have built-in time for photos where the guests have downtime. That, in my opinion, is perfectly fine. But I always tell my couples, and I bet you're the same case, that I will do whatever they want me to do and it's their choice. And I will 100% stand by that till the end of my career.
Very similar, all of your thoughts exactly. I think I was more so thinking about it from a timeline perspective because I have so many couples that are like, we don't want to do one, but we also want to attend cocktail hour. And I say, well, baby, here's how it's going to go. Totally cool. We can do that. How long is your cocktail hour? How much do you want to attend? Because if you think about it, I think this is just simply a lack of knowledge with this because you don't really see this part in like movies or films or on Instagram or no really behind the scenes for it. Without doing a first look, you have to save essentially you could do the girls and the boys separately, the two sides of each bridal party, whatever you decide to have, you could do those separately. However, all family formals, all full bridal party pictures, and then any bridal portraits that you didn't get earlier, those all have to wait till after the ceremony, which is typically during cocktail hour, unless again, Catholics have it a little bit different because they've got like that loo area where, people can chill or whatever. But yeah, I say something very similar where I say, listen, I have two opinions. I've got a professional opinion and I've got a personal opinion. My personal opinion is skip the first look. I just think that it's so special. And I think that I'm also very emotional. So the buildup for me would be really, really special, I think. Who knows, this could all change once I actually do get married and planning a wedding. But professionally speaking, I say get it done out of the way strictly for a timeline perspective. That way you guys can spend as much time together throughout the day. We can get those portraits done. You can go and attend your full cocktail hour, if not missing, 5-10 minutes for some extra bridals, depending on, if it's sunset or whatnot. But yeah, I think that's my opinion.
I mean, I love that. I think at the end of the day, just hiring people that will educate you, but then also still respect your choice as a couple. And there's
Totally. We'll
times where
make it work
people,
no matter what. We'll make it work. Baby,
yeah,
it's your day. Whatever you want, but I'm here to tell you all of your options and what your day might look like from a bigger picture, on whatever one you decide to choose. I like both.
yeah, I do too. And I think that there's pros and cons for both, and that's
Totally.
okay. That's okay.
Totally. Totally.
Okay, we're going to take a little bit of a hard left here, Case. And we're
I'm
going to
ready.
go into vendors targeting vendors and their hot takes. And again, we're going to keep these as lighthearted as possible and positive
Let me
as
say a
possible.
quick
But
prayer.
people,
Lord be with me.
honestly, RIP with these hot takes. So this first one had some feeling behind it. I reworded it to be a little softer.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
But this one, as someone said, keep in mind, this is the soft version. Wedding vendor networking is shallow and unhelpful.
I think this could definitely be, for me, a whole podcast in itself. As of last year, I've been in this industry for so long, but as of last year, kind of since moving back to America, have taken a hard left with my
Well,
career as
Casey,
well. Yeah.
so remind everyone where you lived before this past fall.
Right. So I spent my career started in the States and then I was living in Canada for the last 7 years. I just moved back October of what year is it now? I moved back October of 2024 and I've been in Arizona since. So I've just now started sort of reintroducing myself into the American market, attending many networking events over the past, how many months has it been? 6 months ish. Yeah. And they're interesting. I feel like to keep things PG, my biggest piece of opinion / advice for this particular topic is bring a friend, bring a trusted friend. These events can be
If you struggle at these events, I'm someone who I don't necessarily have to have a friend. I could probably make a friend with a brick wall. However,
this is
however,
true.
and actually I'm the one that tends up like running from corner to corner of the room.
She's like the
However,
girl, she's like, like the little kids with backpacks that parents that's like got a leash on them for like Disneyland for children with ADHD. And Chelsey needs one of those. And you know what? The next one
I'm
I
a
go to with
runner.
you, she is a
People
runner.
call me
She's a
a
track
runner.
star. She's out of here. She just is which is awesome because you're just, so many people and it's so fun. It's actually been so fun to go with you to things because you're so perky and positive and you have so many friends and I'm just like following you around like a lost puppy and I'm meeting all your friends as well. No, it is a little bit. But now that I've attended so many, with you, I've started doing them by myself and I feel pretty confident as well. If you are not like a super, I'd say Chelsea is very extroverted compared to myself. I think I'm an extroverted introvert. So it's a little bit more difficult for me to, like, one of the first events that I went to, I literally had to pull up ChatGPT and say, how do I introduce myself to a group of people who I don't know? And it gave me a list of things and I had to put on my big girl undies and whoa, I just did it. It was super, super freaking scary, but I did it and I'm proud of myself for doing it. But these events, these networking events can be as small as 10 people, 30 people, or as big as, I mean, Engage is 600 people sometimes. So you,
That's a lot of people.
it is a lot of people. So I think at first, it's smart for people to bring a friend, just that you have somebody to like lean on in case you get a little overwhelmed. But networking ain't no yoke, okay? It's a lot. It's a lot energetically as
Well,
well.
it is, and and there was, some definitely some passion behind this comment. In regards to it being shallow, I think that we are in a very aesthetic driven industry. Because we are in an aesthetic and imagery and video driven industry, what naturally comes along with that is what some people might view as shallow. I do not. I guess in the true sense of the word shallow, I think it depends. I think it's personal. I think that if there's something that just doesn't align with you in your business, you don't have to do it. If networking events feel fake to you or shallow, don't do them. There are so many other ways to succeed in business without doing them. For me, they help me because I get to meet people. I made the decision 3 years ago to completely kind of pull myself out of my local market in Ohio and focus on Michigan, Northern Michigan, Chicago, East Coast, anywhere. But those are the places that I very specifically targeted. Well, I
Yeah.
can't wake up and get coffee with someone in Northern Michigan or take them out to lunch or meet them even, casually. I have to make a concerted effort to go to certain events and make my face be shown because personality is a lot to do with this business and who I am. Someone can see my portfolio and be like, oh, I like her work. It aligns with me. But is me as a person going to align with your brand and the way I approach things? I don't know. You don't know until you really meet someone, whether that's virtual. And that's what I want to say is if these networking events don't feel good to you, you can still do things virtually that feel better to you. I personally like a networking event. I love a chance to buy a themed dress and get
Yes.
to
Yes.
have a specialty cocktail, and that makes my heart happy and it makes my business thrive. If that doesn't feel helpful to you, give yourself permission to just not go.
I agree completely. I think judging myself respectfully, I prefer people to meet me and see me and hear me and touch me and, things like that in person. I do not think online I come off as 100% who I want to be representing for myself until I'm in front of you. I think I'm better in person. I think online things get skewed online for me, and I want people to know, I want them to hear the way I talk. I want you to hear the way my voice fluctuates and things like that, which is why I like going to these events. Also, networking events for me are a great way to travel within the United States. America is popping for networking events. So is Europe, but close by, close to home. It helps me familiarize myself with each state and how things are done. So I find them helpful, but I totally agree with Chelsey. If it's not something, you just have to sit back and ask yourself, is this something that I enjoy doing? Is this aligning with my brand, or are there other ways that I can brainstorm to get to where I want to go?
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree
Yeah.
more.
Wait, I have this one here that I wanted to say. It was from
Yeah.
yours, and I'm not sure who said it, but it is such a hot take because it's so relevant to today. And I think that it's becoming bigger ever since probably like 2 years ago. Do you know what I'm going to say?
I don't. I'm excited.
Content creation teams do not belong on a real wedding day. What are your
Okay.
thoughts?
I disagree with that. I think that if the couple wants it, then the couple gets it. And if they want that content creation, then that's what they get. The only person who can determine what's appropriate on a wedding day is the person getting married. Now, I do think that it's nuanced, just like with any other vendor, right? So if you pair an exceptional photographer with a videographer that is not on the same level, there's going to be a disparity with how that day is approached. The same thing goes for content creation. If you hire a content creator that is not as experienced and as nuanced with understanding on how the day runs, how the media team works, how that all works, then you're going to have some problems. I absolutely love Sprout Content Studio out of Michigan, owned by Brianna. She's absolutely amazing. I think we're going to have her on at some point this season to talk about content creation, actually, and kind of her perspective on how to approach that. But it doesn't bother me any. I've worked with some exceptional content creators, but I also have amazing friends who are not negative people, and they've been really scarred by this. So I think that it's definitely, because it's so new, it needs to be discussed and considered when building the full out vendor team.
Yeah, I could same page as you. I think there's a space for everybody. I just want to say that. I think that as the years go by, we adapt, and it is up to the couple essentially how they want their day documented. I think, content creation is very new and there's a lot to learn, which is the best part about it. But that's the same for everyone. That's the same for video, for hair and makeup, constantly evolving. And I think that there's a very healthy way. I think a lot of stuff revolving around wedding days comes down to communication and making sure, again, that everybody's on the same page. I just last weekend worked with Replay Co. here in Arizona, and she was awesome. There was a handful of not only verbiage that she used and communication that was excellent, but just the way that she carried herself and physically moved was awesome. So I have worked with content creators in the past. I don't have too many negative experiences. I think if everybody just knows their place, I think that it can be really successful. But I could see how it might be a little bit, a little bit tough for other vendors if they're not quite sure what's going on or how a wedding day goes. But I think there is a space for everybody in this industry. You are welcome. If your couple wants it, you don't have a choice. You make it work.
You make it work. Hold on. Oh
Make
my
it work.
gosh, I missed that show, Project Runway.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch
I'm glad you
that?
got that reference. Yeah, make it work.
Make it work.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, so someone had commented and brought up something I thought was really interesting that maybe I had never considered before, was that vendors should volunteer or be on staff for other vendor types during production that they're not used to understand the full scope of a production. So for example, and I've helped out a planner friend before on a big production. I wasn't booked. I was like, yeah, I'll come do event, whatever, an event assistant. I don't know. I'm not a
Yeah.
planner, but um holy, it was so hard. There was so much manual labor that went into not only the planning side, catering, the build out of the tent. Oh my God. There were so many hands on deck that even as a photographer who's been doing this for 10 years, I had no idea some of these elements were going into the wedding. And that's what this person brought up, was that you should volunteer or be hired into working on different vendors, whether that's florists or, I feel like that could get a little sticky, but I do understand the sentiment.
Love this idea, actually. I think there are so many times, obviously, there's a little bit of like conflict of interest because I know that people who build their businesses, they have their secret sauce to things and they might not want everybody to know about that. It gets a little bit exclusive and you want to make sure that who is seeing you need the dough and things like that they aren't going to go and, spill the beans to somebody else. But I love this idea. If there is a planner near me in Arizona or California or Colorado and you need some extra hands, I am always, okay, that's not true. I'm not always offering, but for
You're like the
friends,
busiest person I know.
yeah, it was just this month. The last 2 months have been
Okay.
crazy, which I'm so grateful for.
Okay. Okay.
But I mean, I'm obsessed with the wedding industry. I'm obsessed with my job. I'm constantly learning and growing, and there is not one day where I haven't learned something new. And that's what I love, I think, the most about it. But anyways, I digress. I think if you are a planner in the area, or if you need an extra hand, I am more than happy to sit in and help you lift something. I think it is really important. Again, everything comes back to teamwork makes the dream work. It is really that simple. being on the same page, idealistically, brand alignment, things like that. I think it could really, really help a lot of vendors sort of understand what the rest of us have to go through. I know that videographers and photographers work closely together. I think what I'm thinking of, like flat lays and things like that. I oftentimes bring the rollout mat and I style things, and I have, videographers waiting. Hey, are you going to finish with that? Can I use that after you? So they see me put these things together and they're like, oh, like I love that, or that's really unique. That's cool. So I know I can hear them and I can see them learning how it works and how long it takes and the process of that. So I'm not gonna lie, there's not much that I mean, I feel like I know a lot, but I know that there is so much shit that I do not understand when it comes to production of a
Yep.
full-blown day. And
Yep.
I've been doing this slightly less longer than Chelsey has, but still a very, very, very long time. And there's always something to learn. There's always something going on where I'm like, holy shit, I had no fucking clue that took that long, that you guys airlifted that it was, imported. This is crazy, which is so cool. But crazy, it's crazy.
I learned that I have soft hands and then I'm not like a physical labor girly. Like you should have. So Samantha, my planner friend, asked me, the one I helped out. She asked me to, and another gal, actually, she was another photographer. We both kind of volunteered to be on staff, and she asked Molly and I to strike cocktail hour. And I was like, sure, like I can pull some linens, like sure. No, no. These umbrellas were like 100 pounds each. I'm probably being dramatic, but they were heavy. And then there was the basis, and then you had to take them and stack them and re-put them back together and then pull the linen and then put them in the correct bag. And look, it's too much for me. I have soft hands and I am more the creative. I'm the personality hire. You hire me for my brain and my creative direction,
Supervise.
not
She will supervise the team, not lift.
listen, I am a great delegator, a great project manager. I just have soft hands. So not a physical labor girly. I have a real spicy one. And it was
Okay, let's
something
hear
that
it.
I actually kind of feel bad for not considering before this was submitted.
Oh, dun dun
So
dun.
a video friend of mine submitted such like a glass shattering, light bulb shattering moment for me. She said, how would photographers who offer Super 8 films, and for those of you that maybe aren't familiar with Super 8, it is essentially like physical film version of a video, and I had dabbled this in the past. I no longer dabble. It wasn't for
Same,
me.
same.
Yeah, but she had said, how would photo feel if video were to add film photography as an add-on? And because it's essentially the same thing, just roles reversed, film photographers offering Super 8 video as an add-on. And I was like, oh, snap, crackle, pop. That is, I can, I don't even know like how I didn't even think about that before she brought that up to me.
I'm trying to process it right now because I've never thought about this before, if I'm being completely honest. And I apologize if that makes me a little bit complacent in my research. Um, that's that's a really good concept to bring up. I don't honestly know how I would feel about that. My initial response is I would fucking hate that. I would hate that if I was a film photographer. And I think immediately I'm like, stay in your lane. However, I want to be more open minded, and I want to. I would love a bigger discussion on this and to hear from somebody who actually shoots Super 8. I've dabbled in Super 8. It was not a great experience. I am not gonna
Really
lie.
hard.
I shot it last February. Have I developed the film yet? No. Is it probably ruined? Yes. So that's my journey was short lived. It's just, for me, it's one extra thing. I am not a videographer. I don't pretend to be. Listen, I know where my stop start button is. That is my video knowledge. I don't ask me anything else. I'm a photographer. I dabble in the point and shoot film. I'm learning, more of the fine art stuff, which is difficult. So yeah, Yeah,
Love to.
I don't know.
I'm hesitant to even give an opinion on this because I do have photo friends that do offer Super 8, and I've never even considered what the implications of that might be.
Yeah,
So I
it's
think
hard.
I personally need more time to reflect and think and
Yeah,
talk and learn before I make like a definitive hot take on that. But I absolutely
totally,
understand where she's coming from, and
totally.
I think that that can get really murky in the
Icky.
waters.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting. I'm curious now hearing us say this and eventually when we do get to this topic, how our opinions will change. I have a feeling I know which direction it'll go, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to say this just for record purposes, stay in your own lane.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I'm open for somebody to prove me wrong, I guess. Yeah, that's a really interesting one.
A
Um,
hundred
there's
percent.
one here that I see, and I just want to make sure that we touch on it because I think this is a really good one. Sunset photos should take no longer than 20 minutes.
That's too long.
Hey, I don't know how I feel about this. I think I want to go back to saying if a couple wants 20 minutes, you're going to get 20 minutes. If you want 5 minutes, you're going to get 5 minutes. I offer everything, but for the most part, I think couples want to enjoy typically because sunset photos happen around cocktail hour. They want to be enjoying their day. Um, what
I think
I don't have a strong opinion on this.
Yeah, I kind of do. I think
Okay.
that I only because I don't think couples don't know what they don't know, meaning they have no
Fair.
idea what the implications of taking time out of what's planned for the reception and dinner service. They have no idea the implications of that. So for me, I understand that sunset is the glowiest time of the day. I could shoot in sunset for an hour and be happy. But in my opinion, in my professional opinion, at that time, it's their time to be with their friends and family. So, but then on the flip side, they love those photos. So I have a hard time marrying both of those, meaning making the vendors happy, the band, the DJ, the catering, the planner. There's so many people's that time of the day is so crucial for timeline and for getting food out, and there's so many things that go into it that taking the couple for me longer than I think I actually usually set a timer for 12 minutes is typically what I give myself for sunset photos. Just because I don't want it to be again a domino effect and affect so many other things.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of hot takes revolve so much around timelines, and I feel like couples don't know that per se. Everything is based around time because we're all trying to make sure that their day that we can get them everything possible and capture their day as far as like from our stance goes because we're both photography um capturing their day and making sure to do that within a timely manner. Obviously we would love to be there all day, but we got places to go, people see things to do, photos to edit, and if I'm spending that much time, we want to make sure that the timelines are just so crazily important to a wedding
They are.
day. Like it's
They are.
insane how much everything revolves around a timeline, literally everything.
And this is a completely different conversation, but the amount of prep that goes into producing high level weddings and documenting high level weddings is hours and hours and hours of pre wedding prep work that we could talk about labor and the concept of staffing your event appropriately and the hours that go into this and why things cost what they cost. But um, I think that that's a bigger conversation that I couldn't agree on more. But I do feel like that kind of leads us to our last question, which is an amazing segue for episode 2. I only know because we already recorded it, but someone said, and I love the person that submitted this dearly. He's awesome. He's an awesome human being. He said, luxury is not a dollar amount; it's a feeling, a moment, and an indulgence. And
Beautifully
I just,
said.
it was
Couldn't
beautiful.
agree more.
Not agree more.
We will talk about that with Lauren from LZ Events. We go into the hot take that is simply the word luxury and what that truly means. And yeah, I would agree that it is an experience. And that experience, that luxury experience, comes from experience in the field, experienced vendors, experience in this industry. Yeah, it's more, way, 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 way more than just a price tag.
That's like the least amount of luxury is the price tag. There's so much more
Price
that goes
tag is
into
at the
it.
very bottom for me, and everything else included is prioritized as far as definitions go for me.
Exactly. I could not agree more. And I think that's just a perfect place to kind of segue into next week.
Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
next week is another really awesome conversation surrounding all of those things. And I'm excited for you guys to
It's gonna be
listen.
good. I hope
Yeah.
everybody enjoyed listening to our rapid fire dating hot takes today. I'm really excited. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a comment, share, whatever. There's lots of ways to support. I'm looking at all of you that during pre-planning, pre-production said, "Go for it! Can't wait." We're really excited, and this is such a passion project for Chelsey and I. And we're really, really, really excited to bring something new and fresh into our industry. And we're just welcoming everybody in to see it through our eyes. And I think it's going to be really, really fun. And we talk forever. So have fun, grab a drink,
Sorry.
grab a snack, grab a drink and a snack.
Cacie, I could not have said that better myself. I am so excited for this journey with you and for the people that we're going to meet and have on and have these really cool, important conversations that I think sometimes people want to have, but they don't necessarily have a platform to do so. So, I mean, our emails are open, our DMs are open. Like, let us know if you want to come on. Let us know if you have a hot take. Let us know if you want something discussed. We want this to be about the industry and couples, not necessarily just about like the Cacie and Chelsey show, which I mean, we can do too. Like, don't
That
get
is
me
the
wrong.
title.
That is the title. No. But yeah, no, thank you guys so much for coming on. Like and subscribe on wherever you listen to your podcasts. We want to stick around and we want to keep having these conversations with you.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
We'll see you for the next